Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, that's quite a coup to get Chuka Umunna, isn't it?
Well, a huge coup. If you look at what's happened to Lib Dems in the last 2 months, we had amazing results in the local elections, surpassing even our own optimistic scenarios. Then we won the UK-wide election, beating the Tories and Labour at the European elections. Now we've got a very substantial political figure, Chuka Umunna, coming to join us. He's extraordinarily welcome. He's a huge talent. But I think it suggests that there are pro-European Tory Liberals and pro-European Labour Liberals who are now looking to the Liberal Democrats as the home for people who want to stop Brexit and get our country back on track again.
Are you happy to have someone in your party, though, who has in the past said the following? I could never, ever countenance suggesting voters support Liberal Democrat candidates. What the Liberal Democrats have done is utterly unforgivable. I was talking about the years of austerity and the Lib Dems serving in government with the Conservatives. He says, I can't forgive them for what they've done to my area. And also, you can't trust a word the Lib Dems say, one of his tweets. Do you really want someone in your party who thinks that you can't be trusted as a party?
Well, he said that as a Labour MP.
So that's okay then?
Well, if you let me finish, Julia, he's clearly changed his mind, hasn't he? And you'd have to ask Chuka that view.
Have you not asked him?
Well, I haven't yet met him since he's moved over. But let me tell you, I've noticed over a number of years the way Chuka has behaved, the issues that he's raised. He seems to me a classic social democrat with liberal progressive values. And that puts him right at the heart of the Liberal Democrats. And I judge people not just by what they say, but what they do. And the leadership he's shown on the Brexit issue, being pro-people's vote, saying that bravely from the Labour backbenchers, then moving and leaving his own party, showing huge courage. Now, I actually salute him. I think, I would like to see, I think the public, I think your listeners would like to see more politicians standing up for what they believe in and saying, my party betrayed its traditions, and in this case, the Labour Party, and I'm moving from them. And we are seeing on the doorsteps Labour voters, lifelong Labour voters, lifelong Tory voters who are saying the party that we've backed before is no longer the party that we knew. And on the Brexit question in particular, they're betraying the economic interests of our country. They're not prepared to work with other countries as we thought they were. And so they're going to join the party that will, and that's the Liberal Democrats.
Well, there's no doubt at all. Liberal Democrats did very well in the local elections, very well in the European elections as well, despite the fact that parties on the Remain side didn't sort of club together as a Remain alliance and try not to cancel each other out. Do you now think of yourselves as a party that could threaten Labour as being the second biggest party if Brexit continues to be such a big issue for the voters?
Why stop at the Labour Party? In the European elections, we beat the Conservatives nationwide. The first time we've beaten both the Labour and the Tory party nationwide for over 100 years. There should be no cap on Liberal Democrat ambitions, mainly because the country needs a force like ourselves that's pro-European, that's progressive, that can embrace the liberal tradition and the social democrat tradition, that can reach out to what you might call liberal moderate conservatives who want a party that believes in business, who understands markets and competitions, unlike Jeremy Corbyn, but for Labour people who actually see a party who want to invest in our public services, want to help the poorest. That is the Liberal Democrats. I think it's a really important force in British politics now. We are back in the game. I think we can win the game.
Isn't there a problem, though, in depending on where the Labour Party go, if they do declare for a second referendum, many Remain voters who flooded to your party during the European elections will head back to Labour. And, of course, a lot of it depends on who the Tories decide to elect as their next leader.
Well, let's deal with Labour first. I mean, I actually want Labour to take a strong position for a people's vote and against Brexit. I've been asking for that, not only because it's in my party's interest, because it's in the country's interest. And just this week, there was a chance for MPs to vote to take hold of the order paper so they could stop a no-deal Brexit. And it was Labour MPs, not all of them by any means, but some Labour MPs who failed to back that motion and therefore allowed a future Boris Johnson Prime Minister to be able to pursue a no-deal option. And I'm afraid, therefore, my view towards the Labour Party will stay the same, that they are failing British people unless and until they get their act together. As regards a future Tory party,
they are in line with the manifesto in which their MPs were elected, of course, which was a promise to deliver Brexit. But, a small point worth making.
Well, you asked me about the Tories.
Yeah.
The Tory leadership, it looks like it's going to be Boris Johnson. I think people are going to be quite shocked by that, given what a divisive figure he has been, whether it's everything from Islamic-phobic comments to the fact that he thinks that the most important people to get extra resources in our country are rich pensioners, not people who are suffering with, poverty, with mental health problems, or our public services like our schools. He is extraordinarily right-wing. And I know that he's playing to the constituency in the Tory party, who are probably significantly more senior citizens who've got money. But frankly, saying he's going to spend billions of pounds on Tory party members when there are people struggling in our country who desperately need the support, I think it's quite shocking.
I have to say, I completely concur with you on that tax pledge, raising the threshold for the higher rate of tax. Just finally, though, so you're very critical of Boris Johnson. You say extraordinary right-wing, divisive figure. If he does become, as many people expect he will, the next Tory party leader, are you saying then that that's good news for the Liberal Democrats, because there'll be more Tory voters who are on the more moderate Liberal wing who will then move over to your party?
Well, I think it's quite possible we'll see some pro-European Liberal Conservatives come over. But let me just deal with the assumption of your question. Some of us don't see political developments only in the plus or minus for our own party. I think Boris Johnson... Sure? Well, I'm telling you, that's what I feel. I feel so passionate about the European question. I want people of all political parties and shades to come together to save our country. We are on the brink of disaster. Do people not realise this? What a catastrophe Brexit is in terms of our economy, in terms of our standing in the world, in terms of our ability to tackle climate change. And this man, Boris Johnson... Delivering
the outcome of a democratic vote, that sort of thing.
Well, I think people may well have changed their minds. That's what the opinion polls say. That's what the European election results say. And by the way, people are allowed to change their minds.
The European election results show the Brexit Party won hands down.
No, they show that the
they really. Do we need to do a maths GCSE question together? They really did show the Brexit Party won. How many? Let me double check. Let's just double check this basic maths here. How many MEPs does the Brexit Party have right now? 29. And how many Lib Dem MEPs do you have?
16, but Julia...
Oh, OK. So I'm just quite sure... I know you've got trouble with numbers, 52% and 48%, but are you pretty sure Julia, that your number of MEPs is more than the Lib Dem, more than the Brexit Party?
If you let me speak...
I have let you speak for plenty of time.
No, you haven't.
No, I really have. I genuinely go back and listen to this and you will hear how long you've got to speak. I'm questioning when you say things as if they... And I'm sure in your circle of friends and politicians, when you sit and say things like Brexit catastrophe, it's absolutely... You say, and everyone sits and cheers, goes, oh, Ed, you're so right. You do realise that 52% of the population think that you're a traitor to democracy.
Well, I don't think that's the case, actually. But
really?
let me have a... If I'm going to have a chance to speak, I'll take it. You mentioned the number of MEPs to justify your point. Let me look at the vote share, because the vote share is about votes cast.
Yes.
And the vote share of Remain parties was bigger than the Brexit Party.
Oh, that's just...
And if you want to make a
comparison... Again, A, not true, and B, irrelevant.
The vote shares... No, I'm sorry. Your mathematical analysis is so flawed.
You're counting the Labour Party as a Remain party when its official stance is actually Brexit.
Okay, well, let me take you...
No. Do you know what? I'm going to leave it there because I'm way over time. Not for any other reason, but I'm already about 3 or 4 minutes over time on this interview, Ed. And also, I don't think people want to have a long debate about what happened in the European elections, other than the fact that simple numbers are very, very clear. The Brexit Party won that election. The idea that is a signal that everyone's now for Remain is simply verifiably nonsense.